So we have been here on getting the coordinates to the MQTT broker, and then we made the Python code, and then create the MQTT box client and subscribe with that client to the messages that the simulation was sending. And then, but the exercise is working with the NodeRED. So the next thing is that you open your NodeRED editor, and to get the NodeRED running, you go to the command prompt and type there the NodeRED. And then with the browser, you go into the address, that one. And then you have your NodeRED editor flowing, running. And then you got probably an empty flow there. Yeah. So we created that just a few seconds ago. And then take on the left on the palette the MQTT in node, drag it into your flow, like in here, and then double click to open it. And then you go there and do those settings. So you set the server, subscribe to single topic, and so on. I'll show that one on the NodeRED editor, so it's better visible in there. So in my NodeRED editor, I go in here. So this is the server is the test mosquito.org on the port number 1883. Action is subscribe to single topic, and topic is the walking status location. Mine is the walking 01. You can also work with, yeah, it's actually better that you have an individual number here as well in your Python code, and then that you know that you get your locations. Quality of service. So we set there 0. So we don't mind that how many times someone is like subscribing our topics on the MQTT broker. And then the quality of service is 0. So someone is publishing, someone is subscribing, no matter how many times people are subscribing for that one. So then the quality of service is 0. Output is a string or buffer. We could make it also so that it is already a JSON object or something else, but we will just leave it like the default value in here. And I'm just name mine walking 01. So this is just a name which will be visible in here. And then it's done. And then back to my instructions. So there is what you need to set there. And the next thing is that you go into the pick up the nodes, JSON and function. The JSON node is one which is just converting between the strings and the JSON objects. And then in the function flow, we typically write there a JavaScript code. So drag those into your flow. And then you can type there this kind of script. So this is the JSON node, and just leave it like it is with the default values. And then this is the function node, and in the function node, you need to define that we have 4 outputs in here. And then on those 4 outputs, I can check that what is the time, what is the epoch time, what is the latitude, what is the longitude, and so on. So for that, I need a function. So I have written there a simple function. So I have a variable date, which is taken from the ms2 payload.time. That's the time in the human readable format. And then I'll take in the second, which is the MSQ payload epoch. That was named epoch in my Python code. And latitude is the lat, and longitude is the lon. Then I'm creating there a variable MSG out. And in a JavaScript code, you typically don't define the type of the variable or anything. It's just a variable. And to get an array of 4 members, then you need to write, or you can write like this. There might be other ways of also for creating an array, but that's at least an easy one. And then in that array, we placed here those variables. So I'm taking the date, converting that to a string. I'm taking the seconds, converting that to a string, latitude, converting that to a string, longitude, converting that to a string. And then that's my message out. And that's not yet giving the 4 outputs. I also need to go into the setup and set there that the outputs is 4. So there is like you can set the number of outputs. 4 is fine. And then when this is done, say done. And then after that, you simply drag and drop this one of the first nodes in here. That's the debug. And you drag and drop the debug node 4 times in here. And then you do not need to define anything special in here. So it's just like debugging it to the debug window, and that's it. And taking the payload. So just like it was. And then you can, after that, you deploy your flow. I didn't change anything, so I can't deploy. If I change something, like the location of this one, I need to deploy my flow. So I have some mistakes in some other, or not properly defined in some other flows, which I have set inactive. And when those are inactive, it doesn't matter that there is something which is not properly set. So I'm deploying anyway. And then it says here, it's connected to the broker. And then I got the debug view in here. And whenever someone is sending something out from there with the simulator, I get a message in here. So I'm deleting all and going to my Python, run my Python. It is starting to send the locations. I go back to the NodeRED and we get the messages, a number of messages, because there seems to be someone else also publishing to the same topic. So I got all the topics in here. So it could be a good idea that we define in the topic also the device name. And then we subscribe in the topic into certain device names only, because now we are all in the same topic name. Because if that's exactly the same for everyone, then we will get all the messages at the same time. But it's also good to have always something that we still need to a little bit develop further in here before we continue. But we can just work with this one and then come later to that one, that what are the options to make it work a little bit better. So we have the payloads in here. Now it's, yeah, everyone got the test data, and then you see there is it starts, the first one is the date. So Thursday, February. Then Thursday, February is the date. Then there is the time, which is 10 o'clock in the morning, and 10 minutes past, and then 24 seconds in a year, 2022. And then there is the epoch, which is the number of seconds. And then there is an latitude coordinate and longitude coordinates. So this is from someone else, because that's quite far from here. That's not mine. Yeah, thank you. This seems to be running and working. But we have something to, let's say, modify on our JavaScript. Not in the, if we modify the Python, I have things in here that what we publish. Of course, we need to modify probably something also on our function, JavaScript function in here.